Did Prime Minister Justin Trudeau direct the police in Toronto? I think he did, and I will show you the timeline and the documents to prove it.
They left, no one told them they can't come back, otherwise he would have said, okay, I understand.
Okay, I'll just ask, just so... Sorry, it's the person with the vest.
Jihad? Yeah, straight at it.
Remember that those are the Toronto police on January 6, 2024, delivering coffee to the anti-Semitic demonstrators who had set up a weeks-long intimidation blockade into a Jewish neighborhood at Avenue Road and the 401 highway. Just to be clear, these are the people for whom the Toronto cops were operating as errand boys.
The state of Israel's got to go!
Yes, the same cops who furiously cracked down on peaceful COVID protesters over the past 4 years were delivering coffee to anti-Israel neo-Nazis. The actions of these skip-the-dishes constables prompted a police apology after public outrage. To be clear, Police Chief Myron Demkiw should have done something about the Avenue Road protest much sooner. But nothing was done until after January 11, 2024, when the police finally charged someone for waving a terrorist flag and then banned demonstrations on the overpass. But was the protest, which blocked the road and glorified the terrorism and murder of the Hamas attack of October 7th, banned because the police were finally going to do the right thing after weeks and weeks? Or was there something else happening in the background? I was suspicious after I saw this. This is a post from our Prime Minister, a man with no jurisdiction in Toronto or anywhere else to direct policing operations. Sat down with Police Chief Myron Demkiw this afternoon. We spoke about the recent and alarming increase in anti-Semitic incidents and discussed what more we can do to keep Jewish Canadians safe. As partners, we will continue to do what is necessary to tackle hatred in all its forms. Except, was that vagary all they really talked about? Was the meeting more specific than that? Rebel News filed for access to information documents relating to that meeting, thanks to your generous donations at rebelinvestigates.com. You see, I wanted to know exactly what was on that meeting agenda, because one day after that January 10th meeting between the Prime Minister and Police Chief of Toronto, Myron Demkiw, the Toronto cops finally cracked down on the hateful intimidation pogrom on the overpass. I just received the documents from that meeting. They are, of course, heavily redacted, but I can tell you that Trudeau and Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkiw specifically met regarding the overpass pogrom one day before the police did something. It looks like the Toronto police were waiting for permission from their political masters to finally do something. They were seeking permission, maybe approval from Trudeau, who has no business injecting himself into the day-to-day policing of cities and towns in this country. Yes, police should have acted much sooner to deal with the calls for genocide taking place on an overpass in Canada's largest city, on an overpass going into a Jewish neighborhood. Yes, it is illegal to glorify an outlawed terror organization like Hamas here in Canada. But it's also wholly improper for Trudeau to inject himself into local policing matters, meeting directly with the police chief on this protest and not the vague macro issue of anti-Semitic incidents, as Trudeau posted. As you know, that's not what they were meeting about. They were meeting about the Avenue Road and 401 protest. And it looks like the police chief in Toronto was just waiting for permission from Justin Trudeau to actually do something about it. Does Myron Demkiw work for the people of Toronto or Justin Trudeau? If you live in Toronto, Trudeau may as well be your mayor and your police chief at this point, because it appears both of those people take their marching orders directly from Trudeau. And this begs the question, are any other cities and how many other police chiefs allowing the Trudeau Liberals to dictate enforcement actions to them? How often does this happen behind closed doors? I have some redactions to appeal on these documents and many more access filings to send to cities all across this country. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you'd like to help me fund these access filings to find out what our mayors and our police chiefs are doing behind closed doors, meeting with the Liberals, please consider making a donation at a special crowdfund, rebelinvestigates.com.